I like to break carriers up into 3 different categories. There's wraps, there's slings, and then there's Asian style carriers. It's important to know that baby carriers have a very long long history. Almost all cultures, if not all cultures, have some sort of baby carrying, baby wearing tradition. We have lost some of that in some of our more modern cultures. Not all, some cultures have retained that, and it's very important that we acknowledge that and that we understand that. So we are building upon things that have been handed down to us or that we are relearning because we have lost them somewhere. So it's very important that we understand and that we acknowledge where some of this stuff came from. So I'm going to start out with wraps. There's 2 different types of wrap. The first type is a stretchy wrap, and that is just simply a long piece of fabric that has stretch in it in both directions. This is like a warm t-shirt. These are usually made out of kind of jersey knit type fabrics. This one is actually a bamboo, which I really like. It's very soft and cozy. And I will tell you that one of the big downsides, and one of the things that I hear a lot, is that people are overwhelmed by the amount of fabric when they first pull it out of the box. But as you can see, once you figure out how to wrap it, it's actually very quick and very easy. It's also poppable, because what I can do is I can put it on like this before I go out, and then I can pop baby in and out, in and out, in and out. But what I've done is I have created an X here, and this is where my baby is gonna go. So I have made sure that this is nice and snug before I even put baby in. So now I'm gonna put my baby in. Hi. Hi, baby. Here we go. I put 1 foot in here. And I'm going to, 1 foot in there. And then I'm going to spread these passes out across baby's back and bottom. I can find the edge that I'm looking for. There we go. Across baby's back and bottom. And then across baby's back and bottom. And then this is our seat belt. And we call it the seat belt because it is that important. It keeps baby, because this is stretchy, they could throw their big old bonky head back. This would split open and baby could come out. I've seen it happen. It's one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Thankfully we were sitting down, but it was still very scary. So we pull this up here, and now baby is nice and secure. One of the main advantages about this type of carrier is this X that it creates here. What I find this does is it creates a lot of security and a lot of confidence for caregivers. They feel very secure. They don't feel like baby's gonna fall out. They don't feel like that they have to know a whole lot of information. They don't worry about baby popping a seat or anything like that. It's very secure. When it gets nice and tight, you feel very confident. When baby falls asleep, he's probably not gonna let me do this, but you can tuck their head into one side or the other and just make sure that they have enough area in here to make sure they have plenty of fresh air. Now, the downside of these types of carriers is that because they're stretchy, they tend to, baby starts to feel heavy. They start to feel like they're sagging. And that usually happens somewhere around 3 to 6 months or 15 to 20 pounds. Not everybody. Every time I say that, somebody raises their hand and tells me about how they put their 4-year-old in there when they're sick, and that's perfectly acceptable. These are usually safety tested to around 35 pounds. So that is perfectly safe to do. However, most caregivers will find that somewhere around 3 to 6 months, maybe up to 9 months, this type of carrier starts to get saggy. They start to feel like they don't have the support that they want or need, and they start looking for a different type of carrier. that also is a time at which some of the other carriers start to really shine. So this is one of the carriers that I recommend for folks who are just starting out baby wearing. They're not really sure if they want to baby wear until baby's a toddler. They may just want to kind of put their feet in the water of baby wearing. Stretchy wraps are significant, can be more economical than some of the other carrier types, and they can often be found at consignment sales and on different resale sites online. So this is a great one if you want a budget carrier, or if you just want to give baby wearing a try, you're not sure if it's something that you're going to like forever. So that is how to use a stretchy wrap. Brands are things like Moby, Boba. The Solly Baby is really popular right now. One of the other downsides, one of the other complaints that I hear is that because it requires the 3 passes in order to be safe, some people find it to be hot. Depending on when your baby, what time of the year your baby's born, depending on what time, you know, how hot-natured you usually are, baby is. Some of the carriers are more breathable than others. The old style Mobies are definitely not as breathable as their newer cotton ones, or especially as the bamboo blends. The Solly Baby is a lot more breathable. So know that there's some different options and kind of know what you're looking for there. So now, the second type of wrap is a woven wrap. And a woven wrap is simply the same thing as the stretchy wrap. It's a long piece of fabric, but it doesn't have the stretch to it, which means that you can do a back carry with it. I forgot to mention, with the stretchy wrap, you can do a front carry, you can do a hip carry as baby gets older, but you can't do a back carry because of the stretch of it. It can allow baby to arch and come out, and on your back you wouldn't be able to monitor that. So as you get with a woven wrap, you can do a front carry, you can do a hip carry, you can do a back carry as you get more experienced and more advanced with your skills. So woven wraps, yes, so I'm going to show you. They're a little bit different in the way they work. This carry that I'm doing is called front wrap cross carry. There's a lot of different carries that you can do with woven wraps, but you'll notice I'm going to grab baby before I get the wrap completely tightened up. So let me grab him real quick. Come here, you. Come here, baby boy. Come here, baby boy. I'm gonna slip him down in here. And then I'm going to, let's see. I'm gonna pull this up here. And I'm gonna make a seat like I showed you in the safety segment. This is just, I'm making the same thing as if I were putting my arm down here. You can also think of it like a hammock. If you sit right on the edge of a hammock, all it takes is a little bit of shift in the wrong direction and you can be on your face. If you sit back into the hammock, if you have fabric from knee to knee, your knees are below your bum, then it can sometimes even take 2 people to get you up and out of that hammock. So this is the same thing that we're kind of going for here, is wanting him sitting back into that carrier. So now I'm going to start tightening up the carrier, and this is why I like to have a striped wrap when I teach, because I can see that this yellow part is going to correspond to this part over here. Woo! That sun's getting bright in the afternoon. Yes, it is. So I'm going to tighten up that part, and then I'm going to tighten up the middle, and then I'm going to tighten up the bottom, and then I'm going to do the same with the other side. I'm going to find my top, pull down, tighten up the middle, tighten up the bottom. And then I can cross here, come underneath his feet, and then I can tie off. So because this is a woven wrap instead of a stretchy wrap, I only need one pass of fabric, so I can keep these pulled back if I want it to be a little bit cooler, or I can spread them across and make it a little bit more supportive. But the upside, the advantage of the woven wraps is that in theory you could use the same carrier from the time you bring baby home from the hospital or for the birth center or from home to the time that they you no longer want to wear. You probably won't, because you will fall down the rabbit hole of woven wraps and all the brands and all the beautiful colorways and all the wefts and the blends and everything, and you'll have to have a bunch, or that's what happens to most of us. But in theory, you could use the same carrier. They are very versatile, very flexible in the way you can carry baby. I've worked with folks who have back, neck pain that wraps allowed them to carry in a very specific way so that it spread the weight out to avoid their trouble spots. The downside of woven wraps is that they have a high learning curve. You have to learn how to tighten it with baby on you. That learning curve is very much diminished when you have either a local group or the more YouTube videos that you can watch. There are lots of wonderful YouTube videos out there for learning how to wrap. I recommend either Babywearing Faith or Wrapping Rachel. Those are two of my favorites, although there's a lot of good ones out there. You just want to make sure when you watch videos on YouTube that you keep in mind the safety, you keep in mind what you're comfortable with and what you feel is safe for you and your baby. So always make sure that they're following safety guidelines, that you're following safety guidelines. Always practice over a bed or couch or with another person to spot if you're doing something that's new or if you're feeling uncomfortable. But that is how to use a woven wrap. So take him back out of here. There are lots and lots and lots of different brands. This one is a Girasol. There's Yaros, there's Oshas, there's all kinds of awesome wraps. And if you are a part of a group either online or in person, I can guarantee you that there is at least one wrap geek in that group who would love to tell you all about it if that's something that you're interested in.